So hi, is everybody doing? I'm looking at the slides for chapter 15, and what I just want to do is let you know what the most important slides are. And basically, we're on slide 10 over here, and I just wanted to mention that this is a very important concept, the cash conversion cycle, and this is the length of time required for a company to convert cash invested in its operations to cash received as a result of its operations. And basically, it's similar to the concept from a personal finance standpoint of, you going to school and investing cash in your operations or, college, let's say, and basically then getting a job and getting cash received as a result of your operation. Okay, so let's go to the next slide. And I hope we can go to the next slide. Here we are. So, I guess I got a little bit out of order here. So let me just get back. So here's the definition again, and here's the equation for the operating cycle. Now there's two equations that will be brought together to give you the cash conversion cycle. And the first one is the operating cycle. And this is the time from the beginning of the production process to the collection of cash from the sale of the finished product. So if you were running a business, let's say, you would start producing something, and the question is, how long would it take you to get the money? So if let's say you had a company and you were making T-shirts, maybe it takes you a day to make the shirt, but then you have to send them, to the stores and everything, and then the stores got to pay you. So that's basically the operating cycle. So basically the equation for this is the operating cycle is the average age of inventory if it's sitting on the shelf, and how long it's the average collection period for the check basically to get in the mail. All right, so I'm gonna skip this slide here, right? We're gonna skip slide 12, and I'm gonna go to slide 13. And the big equation now that we're going to look at is the cash conversion cycle is the operating cycle minus the average payment period, which is how long it takes someone to pay you when they owe you money. So this is the big equation that you really have to know. And let's go on. So if we combine those two equations, we get this final equation, which is quite important here, right? And this is the cash conversion cycle, is the average age of inventory plus the average collection period minus the average payment period. So this simple math equation gives you the cash conversion cycle. And we now move on to slide 15. And this is that equation in graphical form. You can see the cash conversion cycle is right here. And here's the operating cycle, which we previously talked about. Okay, so basically it winds up, the question is, of course, is how often, does it take from the cash inflow and the cash outflow? How much you pay out versus when the money comes in. So this is that equation in graphical format. So here's a simple example of the cash conversion cycle. And basically you've got inventory plus accounts receivable minus accounts payable. So you'll notice that the resources they've invested and their accounts, their cash conversion cycle is pretty bad at this point, because their resources invested were like $700 million, yeah. So they've got to make some improvements to fix their cash conversion cycle. All right, so basically there's a couple definitions here that are you should know: permanent versus seasonal funding. This is something like you would see like in Home Depot, where they have a lot of permanent stuff on the shelves, but when the fall, the spring comes, they start buying flowers. So that's seasonal, right? Or, or in the summer, people fix up their house so they get some more seasonal stuff in. So here's another nice example of the cash conversion cycle. I kind of suggest you go over this this slide carefully, and this is kind of another figure that shows the cash conversion cycle, and you can clearly see the total needed funding. Here's the seasonal, and the permanent funding is 135,000, and then you have the seasonal funding here. So here's your total you need funding requirements as a function of the permanent and the seasonal funding. All right, so we can move on to all right, so here's another cash conversion cycle equation that is a function of different funding strategies, whether you should take an aggressive versus a conservative funding strategy. And the question is, which one is better off for you? And they give you two scenarios: if I do it in a conservative fashion, or I do it in an aggressive fashion. And here's the conservative. You notice this is the conservative strategy. And if I go back up one more time, you'll see this is the aggressive strategy here. So your overall goal, of course, is to minimize the cash conversion cycle. You'd like your money as soon as possible, right? So you want to minimize the delay in getting your money. All right, and now there's a couple slides on inventory management. You don't have to pay too much attention to those. I'm not too concerned about those. And so let's go up to the next slide. So we'll kind of skip over these inventory. All right, this equation is important here, the economic order quantity. All right, this is on slide 27, and we have to give that equation some importance. And that equation consists of two items called order costs and carrying costs. So we want to know what the equation is, to minimize our inventory costs. Okay, and here's your order cost, and it's defined by the order cost per order times the usage in units per period divided by the order quantity. And your carrying costs are equal to the items listed again here. So your total cost is equal to this equation here. But how do we minimize our total cost? And the way we minimize our total cost is with this equation here. So the economic order quantity is defined as the order quantity that, and you'll notice the magic word here, minimizes the total cost function. So we have to solve for the total cost function for the economic order quantity, and this is the important equation. So it's highlighted in blue. So I would give particular attention to that equation. Okay. And there's a personal finance example here, and you could go over that about buying a hybrid car and which is the better idea, to buy it or not buy hybrid. All right. So and then there's another important equation on slide with regards to inventory management. We're on slide 35 here, and it's basically the reorder point. When do I reorder so I don't run out of stock? All right, and again, here's another example of economic order quantity, and they're actually doing this here. So you don't want to run out of stock, and you want to make sure you have enough, minimize your costs. All right, so just in time is a method here. Just rather quickly you don't keep inventory. You just call up your distributor, and he sends it to you right away. So nothing is left on the shelf. And we'll just move on here. None of this is really too exciting here. Okay, so accounts receivable, right, is the time for it takes your money to come in, as you all should know. And there's 5 C's associated with that. And credit scoring is, a lot of you must know you have a credit score. If you don't, and it's called your FICO score. And depending on how some people act, you basically score their credit. And so we're on slide 45. And this is an important concept now. And this is called credit selection. And there's some items here that are important. So I would definitely go over this part here. Slide 44 is somewhat important to go over. And slide 45 and 46. So this is one like big example here. This is basically one big example that you should go over. And if you have any questions, please email me. And there's two plans here. The variable cost of annual sales. You'll notice there's a present plan and a proposed plan here. Okay, and again, with that same example, we end up average investments in accounts receivable for a present and a proposed plan, as you can see here. We're trying to come up with two different methods for accounts receivable. And you can see now that how much is it costing you? For accounts receivable, your investment in accounts receivable. So this is one long big example about your accounts receivable and your costs, and here's your the cost of your marginal debt. All right, now we talk about relaxation of credit standards, and you're basically giving someone a little chance to pay off the bills. So we are on slide 55 here, I believe. 53, I'm sorry. And basically credit management is something you would want to do if, let's say, you want to relax credit terms. So slide 55 is very important here. This concept here, 210 net 30. Please understand what that means, and what it says is you'll give them a 2% discount from the invoice price if they do make the payment within 10 days, or they'll pay the full amount at the within 30 days if they don't do it within 10 days. So this is a very important concept. Please understand that. And here's the cash discount period. So here's a couple different examples of that. All right, so I would go over these. These are important to understand. And they show you how the relaxation standards work. And here again, here's a analysis of a cash discount. All right, so that's a very important concept. So I would definitely go over that again. All right, so there's credit monitoring, which is basically you're reviewing your accounts receivable, which customers are paying well, and you're monitoring your credit's monitored by credit companies, right? Credit monitoring companies, and you've probably seen this ratio before when you're in 330 when you did ratios. And I wouldn't worry too much about that slide, or and this is just the concept here. Let me go back for a minute on floats, where the money sits in mail floating and process floating. It's kind of like when you pay your bills, the money, they call you up, you say the money's in the bank, and you'll have your money's in the mail, and you'll get your money in a couple days. So I mean those are the most important concepts. And that's probably about it. I would definitely go over the cash conversion cycle and the credit standards, and go over those examples carefully. The rest of this is pretty much not too exciting or important. Just review these slides quickly, but I don't think you have too much to worry about here. Alrighty, so let me just go to the end, and that's about it. All right, so that takes care of that for now. Any questions? Just email me. Have a good one.